ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीन्वितं स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तस्थो हि अभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं नष्टप्रायशो भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैस्तिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, verse 51. Phalam brahmani sanyasya निर्विसङ्गः समस्सितः कर्मदाक्षं च मन्वना आत्मनां प्रकृते परम्. Synonyms: phalam, result; brahmani, in the absolute truth; sanyasya, giving up; nirvisangaha, without being contaminated; samahitaha, completely dedicated; karma, activity; adhyaksham, superintendent; cha, and manvanaha, always thinking of; atmanam, the super soul; prakrute, of material nature; param, transcendental. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Prudu completely dedicated himself to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transcendental to material nature. Consequently, all the fruits of his activities were dedicated to the Lord, and he always thought of himself as the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of everything. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The life and dedication of Maharaj Prutu is the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, serve as a good example of Karma Yoga. The term Karma Yoga is often used in Bhagavad Gita, and here in Maharaj Prutu is giving a practical example of what Karma Yoga actually is. The first requirement for the proper execution of Karma Yoga is given herein: Phalam Brahmani Sanyasya or Vinyasya. One must give the fruits of his activities to the Supreme Brahman, Parabrahman, Krishna. By doing so, one actually situates himself in the renounced order of life, sannyasa. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.2, giving up the fruits of one's activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called sannyasa. It states, Kamyanam karmanam nisyam sanyasyam kavayo vidu sarvakarma palatyagam prahustyagam vichakshanaha. To give up the results of all activities is called renunciation, tyaga by the wise. And that state is called the renounced order of life, sannyasya, by great learned men. Although he was living as a householder, Prithu Maharaj was actually in the renounced order of life, sannyasya. This will be clearer in the following verses. The word nirvisangha, uncontaminated, is very significant because Prithu Maharaj was not attached to the results of his activities. In this material world, a person is always thinking of proprietorship of everything he accumulates or works for. When the fruits of one's activities are rendered to the service of the Lord, one is actually practicing Karma Yoga. Anyone can practice Karma Yoga, but it is especially easy for the householder who can install the deity of the Lord in the home and worship him according to the methods of Bhakti Yoga. This method includes 9 items: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping the deities, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as friend, and sacrificing everything for him. Bhagavatam 7.5.23 it says, Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnusmaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam. These methods of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga are being broadcast all over the world by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Anyone can learn these methods simply by following the examples of the members of the society. In one's home or in a temple, the deity is considered the proprietor of everything, and everyone is considered the deity's eternal servant. The Lord is transcendental, for he is not part of this material creation. The word Prakrute Param are used in this verse because everything within this material world is created by the external material energy of the Lord, but the Lord himself is not a creation of this material energy. The Lord is the supreme superintendent of all material creations, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Maya Dyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Cha Characharam Hetunena Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all the moving and unmoving beings, and by its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. All material changes and material progress taking place by the wonderful interaction of matter or under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Even in the material world are not taking place blindly. If one always remains a servant of Krishna and engages everything in his service, one is accepted as Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even during his lifetime within the material world. Generally, liberation takes place after one gives up this body. But one who lives according to the examples of Prithu Maharaj is liberated even in this lifetime. In Krishna consciousness, the results of the one's activities depend on the will of the Supreme Person. Indeed, in all cases, the result is not dependent on one's own personal dexterity, but is completely dependent on the will of the Supreme. This is the real significance of Phalam Brahmani Sanyasya. A soul dedicated to the service of the Lord should never think of himself as the personal proprietor or the superintendent. A dedicated devotee, should prosecute his work according to the results and regulations described in devotional service. The results of these activities are completely dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachyatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I would like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas and thank you for an opportunity to purify myself. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. So, we are in the fourth canto, the creation of fourth order, the chapter 22, Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the four Kumaras. Just to give a quick recap, the previous verses described about the arrival of four Kumaras to see Prithu Maharaj, and Maharaj received them with great honor. And then there is an exchange of questions and answers between the Kumaras and Prithu Maharaj. And there were several questions asked by Prithu Maharaj related to how the soul get liberated. And mainly in this verse, it was explained that Prithu Maharaj was fully dedicated in Lord's service, and thus whatever actions that he performed in that mode are transcendental, and there is no bondage, as all of the fruits of the activities are dedicated to the Lord. Here, Prabhupada talks about Karma Yoga and how Prithu Maharaj showed as an example for a Karma Yogi. And see, performance of activities for results has to be given up. This is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita. But activities leading to advanced spiritual knowledge are not to be given up. In the Vedic literature, there are many prescriptions of methods for performing sacrifice for some particular purpose. There are certain sacrifices to perform to attain a good sun or to attain elevation to the higher planets. But sacrifices prompted by desire should be stopped. However, sacrifice for the purification of one's heart or for advancement in the spiritual sense should not be given up. So, in Bhagavad Gita 18.6, Krishna says, Etani apiti karmani sangam tyakta phalani cha kartavyaniti me partha nishitam matam uttamam. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectations of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Partha. That is my final opinion. So, although all sacrifices are purifying, one should not expect any results by such performances. In other words, all sacrifices which are meant for material advancement in life should be given up, but sacrifices that purify one's existence and elevate one to the spiritual plane should not be stopped. Everything that leads to Krishna consciousness must be encouraged. In Srimad Bhagavatam also, it is said that any activity which leads to devotional service to the Lord should be accepted. And that is the highest criterion of a religion. A devotee of the Lord should accept any kind of a work, sacrifice, or charity which will help him in the discharge of devotional service to the Lord. And in the purport, Prabhupada also talks about Bhakti Yoga is mainly about Navavidha Bhakti, he talks. And if you look into these Navavidha Bhaktis closely, I mean, this includes like Shravanam, that is to immerse oneself into the listening to the accounts of Krishna, his form, actions, manifestations, appearance. And King Parikshit is the best example for this. And the next is Kirtanam. In this approach, one constantly chants and narrates about Krishna. It can be poetic or descriptive, or it can be both. Rishi Shuka is one of the example for this Kirtana. Smarana. This approach is to constantly dwell in the thoughts of Krishna, recollecting Krishna's actions and beauty and his glory. And King Prahlada is the quittance of this approach. And the Dasyam. The Dasyam means to be in total servitude to Krishna. And we can see the example of Hanuman. His strength and wisdom is unparalleled, yet he was very humble and served Sri Raman and Sita. And the next one is Archanam. And this is a constant act to worship a deity with various names of Krishna, recollecting their significance and facts and leading to those titles and names. And Prithu Maharaj is one of the best example for this. And the Vandanam is a salutation to Krishna. And we can think of like Akrura for this, who was ordered by Kamsa to bring Sri Krishna and Balram to him. And he is considered an epitome for his Vandana. And the next is the Sakyam, meaning to have a friendship with Krishna. And Arjuna is the best example for this. And Atmanivedanam, this approach is surrenders one's Atma to Krishna as an offering and making oneself a tool to Krishna, giving up completely ownership. The example for this approach of bhakti is King Bali Maharaj. And Padasevanam means to serve Krishna in content unified with his charm and glory. Sri Mahalakshmi is the pinnacle for this approach. So it is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all the activities of the material world, remains the supreme dictator. The Supreme Lord is the supreme will and the background of this material manifestation. But the management is being conducted by the material nature. Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that all the living entities in different forms and species, I am the Father. The Father gives seeds the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly, the Supreme Lord, by His mercy, glands, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature. And they come out in their different forms and species according to their last desires and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desire. So the Lord is not directly attached to the material creation. He simply glances over material nature, and material nature is thus activated, and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling flower of the person, yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Person of Godhead. Actually, he has nothing to do with the material world, but he creates by his glance and ordains. In summary, material nature without the superintendent of Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot do anything. Yet, Supreme Personality is dictator from all the material activities. So, in conclusion, we have to dedicate our activities of life in service of Supreme, whether we are in a brahmachari, a student order of life, or a gruhastha, householder life, or a vanaprastha, a retired life, or a sannyasa, a renunciate life. By this way, the actions that we perform does not lead to bondage, and one can be in a liberated platform even in this world when they strictly follow like Prithu Maharaj or other exemplary Vaishnavas who lived by examples. Our constitutional dharma is always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna while we are performing our activities, being it's a household activities or office work or some other. Always execute the work as a service to Krishna. This way, we will be free from the bondage even in this material world. With this, I conclude. Vancha kalpatarbhyacha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama